Hello and welcome to another Circle of the World video, theory video this time. I know it's been a year and a half since the last time we did one of these, but it's kind of related and it will come up again for everybody that loved the Bayaz and Trey theory. Um, I'm Archlector George, obviously, and this is Trey, who is a friend of the podcast. He's been on before,
Yep, that's me.
and he's going to be telling us about his new theory, which has perplexed us for about 3 weeks now. We've already recorded this once, and we felt like it didn't really bring across the point as well as it could, so we're going to do it again. This is probably going to be about an hour and a half, so kudos to everybody that gets to the end of this. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your theory?
All right. So the base, like bare minimum of it, is Bayaz is the real Weaver. That's the whole crux of all of this, and we're going to spend the next long chunk of time discussing why that is the case.
And that is excellent. Again, to everyone, all the listeners, I really missed the fact that I didn't think of this the first time running through, because I'm supposed to be the theory person here, but I've been outdone.
Oh yeah, that's what I do. I live to outshine others. It just brings me so much joy. Oh, I think the best way is to just start at the surface and then work our way through. We'll see. Like, there's only so much to go through, but there's a lot of meat on these bones.
Yeah, and it might be difficult to explain the context around everything without taking a million years. So we're just going to go through as if you've read all of these books. If you haven't read all the books, go and fucking read the books.
That was part of why we had to redo all of this, because the first one was basically just going down a list of pretty disjointed points and discussing their relevance. But we've got it more organized into a progressive way in this one.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I've never organized any text of information like this before. Usually I just keep stuff in my head in kind of a big pile of post-it notes. I can usually find the right one.
And then when you try to explain anything to anyone, you're just like, everybody looks at you like you're insane. It's like, no, really? I think I've got something here.
I've got them all, like all those post-it notes. I've got them all in separate piles for the concepts, but I don't have them in any order. So I'm just reading one after another with no rhyme or reason. This is very different for me, and I think it's going to be pretty good.
Okay, so we want to start with just your overall points. Like, what brought you to this theory in the first place?
Well, I watch a lot of film theory. I watch a lot of game theory. I haven't watched a lot since Matt Pat left, but it just gets my thoughts running, and that's more background than anything else. But it's been in the back of my mind. I've always thought if there's anyone who's really the Weaver, that's not Glocta, it would be Bayaz. And rule of threes, there were two reveals showing another Weaver, Rizanow onto Pike, Pike onto Glocta. Rule of threes would dictate that there is a third reveal. That's not really. I mean, that's nothing really. That's just a literary device, not in concrete or anything.
We definitely think in the podcast that the rule of three is very important to Joe. He always does it in comedy, and he does it in a lot of more of the dramatic moments as well.
Once, twice, three times.
Exactly, because it's good for just a good structure to a story, even if it is a little bit overplayed. But
not to mention he's done two trilogies, one set of three standalones. He's very set on the rule of threes, and this would be the third reveal. It's just that idea hit me at one point, and I've kind of stuck with it and been building up all this information. And this last couple of weeks, I've been Uh, I haven't read A Little Hatred in a very long time because Apple Books decided that because they raised their price, I didn't own it anymore, and I didn't want to pay $32. I got Audible. They gave me a credit. I got the book. It cost like $6 total. It was
We're not sponsored by Audible at all, but if they are interested, just give us a call.
hit me up. I will do one of these for a book of your choosing if you give me money to do it.
So I've just been reading over your notes here, and so we got the Bold Weaver with the Never-Ending Press, which I think is it's Ricka's vision, right?
Oh yeah, that was actually her first vision she had of him. After the Weaver was introduced as a concept, she described him. We presume it's Bayaz. She described a bald weaver with a never-ending purse, and at the very last vision, she described Bayaz. It's pretty clearly Bayaz again, a bald weaver with his womb tattered. Now that's two separate representations of Bayaz as a weaver. Now, whether or not that conflates him as the Weaver, it's up in the air, but the symbolism can't really be more clear.
Okay, so
And
yeah, so the whole concept of this big mastermind over the top has been, you know, used for Rizanow, Pike, Glockter. So
absolutely,
it makes sense for that to be sort of a connection or like a known sort of metaphor in this world.
absolutely, just following the chain of command going up that. And
Mhm.
the only like the Weaver was only mentioned once before it was mentioned in her vision, and that's when Greece was talking about getting the Gurkish sugar from the Weaver.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, here's the next question, I suppose. So, everyone who has used the name of the Weaver has been part of the Inquisition. Uh, natural, the Inquisition was started in the first place by Baez. He is the
Mhm.
Inquisition. He started it as Zoller, and he
He was the
revealed
first
that,
art lector.
yeah, the first Archlector. And we've got three dang Archlectors as the Weaver. Naturally, if it stays in the Inquisition, then naturally it would be Baez to be the one that Galacta reports to, the same as in his professional life.
Absolutely, and we know that by Glockter is, supposed to be reporting to
Oh yeah,
Bayaz this entire time.
he's a clear Baez asset. I mean, he doesn't hide it either. I mean, we saw all of it. Yeah.
Hmm. And I find it interesting that in A Little Hatred, he is clearly against Bayaz at the end.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's clear that he's been working up to this point. But I think the whole sort of overarching point here is so that nobody gets confused is that Bayaz sort of anticipated this, right?
Oh yeah. Uh, it's it's very possible that Galacta was being led by Baez the entire time. I mean, look what Vic was capable of. She was capable of
Mm.
tricking every single side into thinking she was on their side, betraying just
Yeah,
about everyone as she went.
exactly. We have this precedent of this political scheming and the fact that you can manipulate people this easily. In the same books, you've got Vic that is showcasing that very well, and you've also got Savine, Leo, and also to an extent, but not so much.
The power of lies are shown extremely well in the Age of Madness. Vic just bulldozes everything with lies. She runs her mouth off and she spreads in as much truth as possible. Galacta acts the same way, largely.
He does. He does. He seems to not just kind of trap it over everything. He's just got this one goal, and he knows exactly what he's got to do, but he's not really thinking about the things that are gonna. He's just clear on getting rid of buyers. And that's it. He's
Oh,
got
yeah.
no other cares.
He's got his shit going on. And but just playing devil's advocate, it could be that he's been lying to everyone that everyone under him, lying that he is really the Weaver, when in fact he's borrowing it from someone else, a better man.
It would be again rule of three. That's where we're going back to. That
Exactly.
he would come out and say that. I would love it if the next book started like that, and the whole cliffhanger was just a lie. I would find that quite funny. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we come back to the rule of threes with the reveals. You got Rizzo now saying that he borrowed that from Pike, who borrowed it from Proctor. And it would be interesting if that would then Proctor would then just turn around and say, "Yeah, no, I was on Bayaz's side the whole time." I think that would be it's out of character. I think, and
Oh,
it's much better version of the theory, in my opinion, that he's not aware of this and he
oh,
is sort of
absolutely.
being manipulated. Because I like to think that Baez does actually know that's his real magic. He knows how to kind of manipulate people, whether it be
Absolutely.
through force or subtlety or bribes or debts. He
He,
knows how to manipulate people.
he's making choices for people before they even realize the choices are being made.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, he decided Giselle's entire life before Giselle was even able to talk.
Oh yeah, he just spread a bunch of lies. He bought him for 6 marks. The only reason he picked Giselle was because he had a strong jawline.
Exactly, exactly.
Oh yeah. And but I think the point I was really trying to make there was it works both ways of Baez as the true weaver.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
In what way?
I mean, it works. It could be that Glockta is on his side, Glockta isn't on his side, but Baez is still the one pulling the strings. It can work both ways. I mean,
It definitely can. It definitely can.
oh
It's a
yeah,
little bit more tenuous with him not knowing, but
oh yeah,
that's how these things go.
yeah. Baez's real wizardry is controlling people more than anything else. I mean, he said he specialized in fire and will.
Will
W-
is the big one there, I think.
Fire and will.
I mean, he uses fire what twice, 3 times, and every time it just nearly kills him.
Fire and will, the breakers and the burners.
Ooh,
That just came to me.
ooh, that is a ooh.
Yeah, two major factions of the rebellion, one dedicated to burning things down, one dedicated to breaking things down so they can rebuild it in different ways to shape the people's will onto it.
But they are also literally name breakers because they break machines, though,
Absolutely. And the chains
and the chains
with
break the
with
chains.
their wills. It's a stretch, but it mm,
There's a lot of thematic things that tie in to this.
oh definitely. Yeah.
And
I love
for a lot, I think a lot of people were kind of disappointed with the Age of Madness and the way it turned out. And I think this might be a way to read it for those people.
yeah. I I feel like I don't know. I feel like the way the first law moves, how its entire world is shifting from uh high fantasy or not high fantasy, but fantasy, like traditional fantasy, to medieval fantasy to industrial fantasy. I don't know. Some people they really just like fantasy. I feel like that's why they didn't much like Red Country because it was a western. So, the next point I have here is I want to touch on the Tanner, the character that Yoru used to stir rebellion in Last Argument of Kings.
Yeah,
The
yeah. Somewhere
Tanner,
in Midland, there was a peasant
yeah,
uprising.
yeah, peasant uprising. They brought up about 10,000 soldiers. They were ready to fight the king's own. Armed rebellion in the original trilogy, much similar to what's going on in the later one. And that was Yoru stirring up everyone. He was the one that signed the papers that said, okay, we'll all go home now. He was the leader of the whole thing.
And there's been many mentions of, especially in the heroes, where people kind of recognize them after the fact. You know what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
like, oh, I think I saw this guy with two different coloured eyes stood in the shield wall for Black Tower and Calder's fight, and just stuff like that. And there's no chance that Yoru wasn't involved in some of this stuff, right?
Oh yeah, he gives the impression of being everywhere. The like he could be any background character, and he was at least four of them in in the original trilogy. It,
Absolutely.
oh yeah, it's just he's got his hands in everything, and by him
You
having
can't
hands,
trust that tricky little fucker.
you really can't. But the the question I want to pose is: Baez was behind the Tanner scheme. Could it have been a trial run for the Great Change?
I mean, it's not like he'd let anybody know. It's not like anybody would be witness to Bias talking about this in the past. So it's not completely implausible.
Oh yeah,
And the fact that he doesn't really have any big enemies left now, right? Kalul is
oh
essentially
absolutely.
dust. Like the whole empire of Gurkle has collapsed into like a feudal system. And the old empire, yeah, it says that the other magi, I think it's Cornel and Zacharias, are causing some troubles for him.
Oh yeah,
But apart from that, the Union is sort of just there.
yeah. I mean, the only reason he raised up those 10,000 soldiers so that he could bolster Giselle's reputation as a peacemaker. He was fully capable of raising all those peasants, getting them up in arms.
Mhm.
What I mean to say is he's no stranger of stirring rebellion. He's done this before. It
Oh,
just
he's
would be on a
100% done it
larger
before.
scale. Oh yeah, it would just be on a larger scale of the Great Change, just everywhere at
And
once.
I think the counterpoint to that would be that Glock 2 is just sort of taking notes from Bayaz.
Absolutely, it could be he's learning from the master. Yeah,
Because on the Circle of the World podcast, we are entirely non-partisan. We don't take sides. We're just putting forward an idea.
absolutely. I would love to explore every point for and against this. It could very well be that, like you say, Glockta is just learning from what he's seen. I'm sure he studied all of it and learned in the 30 years what Baez, what actions he was doing when he was pulling the strings.
I
The
mean, there's got to be records. He's got to go through all those fucking. Since Zola, I'm pretty sure Bayaz is a records kind of guy. You
Oh
know.
yeah, for sure. But shoot, it's very possible that Glockta found out that Brent was, one of Baez's bastards.
Hmm. I mean, he definitely was, wasn't he? The family was
Oh yeah.
mentioned when Byers has given Giselle his beat down and is putting in his place.
Oh
He
yeah.
says there was another family, I think it was called Brint. So Brint could have easily been in the place of Byers, and he still has dirt over him, right?
Yeah. If he had a stronger jaw, Brent could have been the king. That's what it all boils down to. And maybe Glockta found that out, and that's how he turned him. Because someone had to turn Brent.
That is true. I mean, somebody definitely got to him. Somebody definitely got to him at some point. He's definitely not rich because we know that he squanders his very little allowance in the first Giselle's first chapter.
Oh yeah, he's not a rich family. He doesn't come from a rich noble family. He earns his way up to the closed council. He didn't have to buy any votes or anything. He was a good soldier and suffered for his country. In fact, he
Well,
probably
we do get the hint that he was just put there because Giselle liked him, and that was
that's
it.
the I was just about to say that. Yeah. He likes his old friends. Giselle does. And that
Or
might
at
be
least
why
the
he
people
was
that he
good for
thinks
her.
about as his old friends.
Maybe no one turned Brent. Maybe he just had to.
I mean, he's got good reason to be radicalized, doesn't he? I mean,
Oh yeah.
they made peace with the North without getting his wife back. Can you imagine how devastating that would be?
That's right. No, no, no. He wasn't on the side of the breakers. He was on the side of the rebellion. The
Exactly.
the open council rebellion. I got them conflated.
But that's the thing.
Yep.
I think there's a bit of a division here. I think the Great Change itself was probably, or in
Oh yeah.
this theory, probably a part of Byers' plan. But I think the Open Council's rebellion wasn't, which is why Yoru then comes to warn Finri and Leo at the docks in Anglan.
Now that is something I want to touch on because I do want to talk about Isher, but a bit later. Yeah. All right. So let's get on to threads from A Little Hatred. I've been reading A Little Hatred, I've been reading The Trouble with Peace, and I've been taking notes of particular things that really stand out as important to this theory. Now, Yoru, uh, Yoru worked with Pike and was as responsible for the gibbeting of those 200 breakers as Pike was. Pike got a good chunk of the blame, but Orso always blamed Yoru just as much. Now, did Bayaz give that order, knowing that it would embolden the rebels? Breakers, I mean.
Mhm.
It's. I feel like he would know that hanging 200 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baez does believe in shows of force, but I
Oh,
think he
absolutely.
knows also that hanging 200 people, like you say, in front of a crowd and just being like, yeah, they're traitors, even though they haven't really done anything wrong. The
He's been
people that have
around.
done something wrong have left.
Not to mention, he would already know that Orso had given them mercy. He would be. It's like,
It's a clear
yeah.
undermining, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's right there. It's undermining Orso's reputation. It's making him seem like a tyrant. They're they're being overly overly forceful about it. They're just hanging whoever. They're decorating the road to Valbeck. It's
It's obscene, really, if you think about it. It is very, very brutal for the time.
it's
You know,
almost like he's inviting them into Adua. Follow the corpses of your compatriots and come and tear it down.
I like that. That is a very interesting.
Oh yeah.
But the I find it funny that the whole union being controlled by buyers at this point, they're very not concerned, are they? They're just like, ah, yeah, no, the breakers, they're fine and nothing. And this is a part of Proctor's plan, obviously, that you just downplay all of this until it gets to the point where it's boiling over.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's just a kettle that's just keeping on going. It's well until it burns.
Exactly, and that really feels like what you one of your notes is this big bold pay energy. And I think that is
Yep. Oh yeah, that was on a phrase to change the world. We must first burn it down. Now that very well could have been. That was something Gloctus said multiple times, and it's been a theme that you pass down phrases and catchphrases and whatnot. You have to be realistic. You can never have too many knives. But Gloctus says it like it was one of his old mantras. Now, could he have inherited that mantra from Bayaz? Because who else would know but him about burning the world down?
If you subscribe to certain theories, there's he's already burned several worlds to the ground, so it's
No
no big
doubt.
thing.
I mean, he definitely killed Juvens. He definitely killed Canadius.
He was probably behind the new empire in Styria as well, which was sort of like a
Oh,
proto
yeah.
union, or maybe even afterwards.
I mean, they mention all these different generals and philosophers and whatnot. At least half of them are fucking bias.
Exactly. I love it. We've talked about this in the podcast recently, where Monza always quotes Bielefeld, and it's like
Yeah,
here we've learned that Bielefeld was just bias.
bias was Vialaveld. Yeah, it's he knows all the general stuff. He's no stranger to it. He's a conquering general.
Exactly. And another thing is in the little hatred that I find really interesting as well is how casual and very detached Bias seems when he's at the Solar Society, I think it is, or is it the party for?
Oh, he was at the party. Yeah, for Leo's triumph.
Yeah, and he's just like, "Ooh, are those like sausages? Who's that over there?" And he's just like very jolly about the whole thing, you know.
He was also in the closed council, one meeting for that, and the entire time he was just looking out the window. Just
Yeah, which is very not Bias.
yeah, he was just looking out the window, bored out of his mind, staring at the birds. Yeah, he just couldn't care less about the new King Orso. Just not at all.
Yeah, no attempt to groom him or anything. Try and get him to do what he wants. Just a few casual conversations. Oh yeah, best of luck. Bye. See ya. That
Yeah,
doesn't sound like Baez.
it's almost like Orso is exactly how Baez wanted him to be.
Wow. Yeah, that is true. And you'd think he'd have a little bit more, or at least him or Glockter would have a bit more say in how Orso was raised, and especially once he became an adult,
Oh
like
yeah.
how much control could be exerted over him.
At the end of the day, I feel like everyone treated Orso with much more respect than they treated his father.
Definitely definitely at the first closed council meeting.
Yeah. Glocta never talked down to Orso. Ayaz didn't even really talk down to Orso.
No, that is funny. That is really funny, isn't it? Considering that also is, and again, his reputation is another part of this, isn't it? Where
Exactly. He's the prince of prostitutes.
it's just the perfect storm. And again, Glockter could be involved, but the fact that Baez is so disinterested is, again, it's such a strange thing considering, he sailed all the way here from the Northern Library where he probably came from the old Empire. This is
Yeah.
a long fucking journey, and he's just going to sit there and look out the window just because you're bored?
Oh yeah. He was smiling
Doesn't make
when
any
Giselle,
sense.
like he was thrilled that Orso is now the king. And this has been a separate theory that people have floated that Baez was behind Giselle's death, which I never bought because that doesn't work unless he's the dang Weaver to me. Unless he wanted Orso to be
Honestly,
king so he could be
I
overthrown.
feel like I feel like if before Baez would kill Giselle,
Yeah.
he would definitely just have Yoru get rid of him and then replace him.
Oh yeah, for sure. He
Like
would.
that would be such a better solution, isn't it?
That'd be so cool. Fencing with father.
Like, oh yeah, have your eyes changed colours? Like, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. No, son, it is me, Papa Giselle.
The best thing was if it was just perfectly normal at the end. It's like, oh, never any peace, eh?
So the second point for a little hatred, the father of the feast. Now, that name was only mentioned once by Malma when he was being interrogated by Vic. He mentioned at the first meeting he went to that Rizanow spoke about the father of the feast and treated him with deference, this guy off to the side. And the way Malma was speaking made me think that he got at least a partial look at the guy's face. He didn't say his face was obscured or covered up or anything, but there was something distinctive he was about to say. And believe
That's just when they're conveniently interrupted by.
by Pike, yeah. And my thought on that
Hmm.
is if Malma knew who he knew the face of the guy, he would have to know that it was burnt out of control like crazy. Then this guy with the melted face comes in. And if that was the case, he would have to react to it in some way. And if that was the case, then why didn't Vic pick up on it?
Hmm.
Which makes me think maybe Pike wasn't the father of the feast.
It does sound fair. That is interesting that she saw, that would have been the first thing he said. He would have been like, yeah, I saw this really fucking burnt guy in a cloak. if he'd seen
Yeah.
any look at his face.
Like that's the something you lead with. You had no
Yeah,
face.
exactly. That's it. Yeah, you come straight out with that. That's so if it isn't, it could be. Oh no, it wouldn't be Yoru at this point, would it? If Glockter isn't involved,
Oh yeah. It could have been Yoru back then, though.
it could have been. But I doubt that Baez himself would have been though. But it
Yeah.
does. It's interesting that could have been somebody else.
Oh yeah, it could have been another person. It definitely wasn't Glockta because he was standing, but I think we can be safe on that.
Also, he's at a rally against him where everyone knows what he looks like.
It's very true. That's very true.
So All right, moving on to the trouble with peace.
Alrighty. So, as I was reading The Trouble with Peace, this is where a lot of things started to click into place for me. Henry and Artie are both Bayaz assets. Could it be that
Mhm.
Bayaz had a hand in Leo and Savine's marriage? Zuri was the one to inform Artie and Finri of her situation, but could they have then gone to Bayaz for guidance after that? It's, I mean, Artie, she's Glocta's wife, she's as much in on it as he is. Finri, she was handed Angland by Bayaz. If anyone owes Bayaz anything, it's her. And
Exactly. And, Baez is in town as well at this point, I think.
oh
Or
yeah,
he has been.
he's been around. It was right at while Orso was still coming into power. And
Although I don't think Finri was in Adua when Baez was.
well, she had to be. No.
Well,
Oh yeah, yeah,
when.
she had to
No,
be
yeah, no,
because
when.
it was
No,
uh
because I don't think there was any mention of her being in either place, actually, thinking about it.
well she had to be in Adua because she had that
Well, she
meeting
was the
with
Lady Governor.
oh yeah. But she was there with
Yeah.
Leo and Leo was there through Wetterland's trial because he made that whole scene and got thrown out by Gorst.
I absolutely do not remember any mention of Finri in those chapters, but I will definitely
Oh, yeah.
give that another look.
But she was not mentioned. She wasn't at all, like for sure. But I'm thinking she could still be there. Would she miss her own son's wedding? Because they had it
Mm.
planned for 2 weeks from that point.
And of course, that's the very good classic conspiracy theory. Well, because it was never mentioned, it must be
Oh
important,
yeah, oh yeah.
which is a
but
staple of our craft.
but it's also worth mentioning that she's not the lady governor anymore. She lost that in a little hatred. She doesn't really have anything to do at that point.
Well, that is true. That is true. I mean, she
Because
might be still up in
oh yeah, she could
Austin
have
Hall.
gone back. Yeah, she could have gone back up to Austin Horn to get everything straight, make sure that things are working while Leo's down, getting married. That's that's all up for. But she was in town uh, to arrange their marriage 2 weeks before that.
Mhm.
I think it's possible that Baez was still in town at that point.
I mean, that is true. I mean, we
Yeah,
never see him leave again. We only see him again in Trouble with
yeah.
Peace.
He did
But
leave.
also, we know that Baez knows ways of getting messages to
Oh yeah.
people.
Oh yeah.
Because obviously, like with Glocta, he works through other people. He works through Yoru, so it's completely possible all of this happened off
Oh yeah.
screen, so to say.
He did leave shortly after telling Orso that he could find his own way through the Wetterland situation. That was when he went off to deal with uh yeah, that's when he went to deal with the things in the old empire. After
Okay.
that he came back in Wisdom of Crowds. I think that's how it went. Anyway, let's just move on from
That
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 cuz
that, is, that no, that is really interesting, and it ties back into what I was saying about the party earlier as well, with Bayer seems so jolly about something, and that is where Savine and Leo meet, I think.
oh yeah, that's where they meet and then they go on and he gets her pregnant as shit.
And Baez was talking to Savine shortly before he was interrupted by, or not interrupted by, but he left, and then she was talking to what's her name,
Oh yeah.
Celeste Ann Huygen.
Yep.
So
She
that
could
that is a little thing there. Like maybe he was just there to do the serial killer thing where he's looking on his crime. He knows what he's doing.
just returning to the scene of the crime before it's been committed.
That's a
But yeah,
total bias thing to do. You would absolutely do that if you were biased.
who knows? There's very good chance that he was doing this with damn near every noble and lady of taste, just matching them up until he got one that worked.
God, he's like the Benny Gesserit.
Yeah, Just keeping on banging until you get the Sadara Hada Hada.
Oh, exactly.
On to the next point. Uh, is Isher a Bayaz asset? Bayaz encouraged Orso to find his own solution to the Weatherland situation, and then immediately after that, he met with Isher, and Isher ended up fucking everything on both sides. Isher's father was screwed out of a place on the closed council by Bayaz back in the original trilogy, but Isher is a power-hungry snake in his own right. Could he have made a deal with Bayaz to stir up the open council? It
I,
may be.
I, I just want to point out as we're here as well that Morveer killed the old Lord Isher.
Oh yeah.
So he was hired by someone, let they not be
So,
named, and he has mentioned that he has worked with Valiant and Buck before.
you know, I kind of feel like it's more likely that young Isher killed old Isher.
Either way, that is
But
really
yeah,
interesting.
that is a nice little tie-in. I had forgotten about that.
I like that Bayaz is Isher is going into a meeting with Bayaz in their little hatred.
Oh yeah, it's
And it's just like, well, that's never explained. They never explained what they were doing with those plans.
yeah, man.
And this explains it perfectly.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, could have been that the entire rebellion was just Baez having Isher stir the pot. I mean,
And he does it perfectly. Isha almost seems to know exactly what to say to everybody.
oh yeah, he's got everything planned out. Uh,
But then we'll get onto that later, but continue.
yeah. Let's see. Kind of discussed how Brent was already a Baez plant. I feel like we've covered that fully.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
but we'll move on to the second point about Isher. Uh, when Isher showed up at the to meet the Anglan forces, he was fully disheveled, like just completely out of his sorts. Like it's the only time you've seen him anything but prim and proper outside of the Great Change, of course.
Mhm.
Uh, which makes me think he may already know what the crown has in store. He's
This is at
ex-
the Battle of Stauffenberg, right?
yeah, the Battle of Stauffenberg. He may already
Okay.
know that he's bound to lose, that the
So
reinforcements
he
are
did,
coming.
but
You go ahead.
don't they have difficulties getting there anyway? But that
Oh
was
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
kind of a point earlier where they were delayed by unknown reasons. Um, so
That
yeah, that is interesting. That maybe he does know. Maybe he knows, and he does get out of there straight away, which is
oh yeah.
obviously painted as him being a coward.
He he was the only one to not get caught.
Was he
Uh,
the only one? Was there a couple others that were mentioned? Or
nope, just him. Berezin, Lady Wetterland, they all got hanged along with Mustard, Clencher, the England delegation. Uh,
and isn't it
the only one.
interesting that Isha immediately appears back at the
Oh, yeah,
court of the pit? What was the first iteration of the
the
government
common
after the
round.
Great Change? The Common Round. Yeah, he just
Yeah,
miraculously appeared. It's like yes, yes.
right back into it. Huygen, the only reason he survived was because he was captured and put as a prisoner. He just wasn't on the battlefield when they did the hanging. So that's how he survived. I swear that lucky bastard. I would have paid to see one of those plays that Barrison liked to put on, those pornographic plays that he shit himself laughing at. Man.
Yeah,
But
you got to go to Amsterdam.
yeah. He Yeah, I mean Isher is extremely careful. He Savine had no dirt on him. Now, no one is that careful. He, he
He is
very well
way,
could
way,
have.
way too careful, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's like a blank slate. If we hadn't seen his eyes, I would think he might be Yoru.
I mean, yeah, he does too many things too well. He
Absolutely.
knows how to manipulate. Oh, Leo isn't too hard to manipulate, but he knows how to manipulate Leo. But he also manipulates also who isn't too hard to manipulate as well. But
Oh yeah, he plays both
no,
sides.
knowing that Bayaz knows both of their parents very, very well, and has probably been updated on how they are and how they react, he would be the perfect person to give Isha instructions.
Absolutely. But yeah, just to cover up that last point, uh, when Isher and Savine were alone, it was almost like he was seeing everything fall into place exactly the way Isher wanted it to be, or for the sake of argument, how he was ordered to make it be. But
I
yeah,
feel at this point, I really am on board with this theory, but I think a counterpoint might be a little bit more of a philosophical one. I'm pretty sure Joe is a fairly well read in philosophy and psychology, as we know. But I think he's a big believer in Hadland's razor, where you can never attribute to malice what is adequately explained by stupidity. You know what I mean?
but yeah, that's
I
a
get
very
you.
good point. It could very well just be that Isher is following no orders, that Isher is doing his own thing. Like I said, he's a power hungry snake. He could be doing all this for his own power so he could get a seat on the closed council and be able to control who he thinks is a stupid puppet king. But then the weather goes bad and he realizes things aren't going his way and he just bails.
He
That's
does. He
very
just,
it's yeah, it's very possible. I mean, that's the
and
impression.
not just him as well. His entire army or all of his
Oh
forces
yeah.
as well just leave.
Oh yeah, they just get on right out of there. He's not even going like he's probably angling for a we didn't fight. We my forces didn't fight. We fled and surrendered. Yep, that's right. Angling for as much mercy as he can muster from Orso, if not just trying to flee the entire Union.
Which is obviously not a good thing for a landed lord to do,
Oh yeah,
even
for sure.
with all this upheaval.
He would not be welcome in the north or Angland or Starrickland or Westport, anywhere down in the southern continent. Yeah, he'd be screwed. But
Isha is definitely a character that needs more looking into. I think people very much read him as a very simple plot
oh yeah,
device, but
for
could
sure.
be more going on behind the scenes that we don't see.
Very well could be. But that's kind of, conspiracies in the first place. It's kind of trying to it, it's assuming that there's a curtain there and that there's something behind
Yeah,
that curtain.
exactly. You don't go, with science, you go at data
Oh yeah.
with the mentality that you're just trying to find out what happened.
Yeah.
Whereas with this kind of thing, you're going at it with the assumption that this thing is true, therefore you
Oh yeah.
have to find as many connections as possible. And obviously, that kind of mindset is key to this kind of thing.
Yeah, because
Just make
it's
sure you don't do it in
theory.
real life, guys. It hurts
Yeah.
people.
Oh yeah, this is a theory at the end of the day. This is all just me putting the pieces, all the points that lined up on the board that make sense for this argument. And it very well all could be that these are just me hearing hooves and thinking zebras. It's extremely possible that that's the case. But I think this is neat, and this is my head canon.
I think it's neat as well. This is
Yeah,
I'm gonna start a new read through of the Age of Madness, and I'm gonna go with it into it, thinking all of this sort of like, oh, this is just like the first book.
yeah, right. I
Because that
never.
would be that. This is why I love this series because it feels exactly the same as when we first find out that Baez is behind everything.
Yep. It's
I know it's the same thing, but I feel
yeah.
like Joe would like to do that kind of like semi because
Exactly.
this whole thing is a satire.
It's
Like
all satire.
every it's all satire. It's absolutely incredible that Joe might be able to do this, but we would never know because we're never going to
Exactly.
have him on the show. So,
I mean, yeah, man, that would be so cool if you had Joe on the show.
oh, we're
Oh,
trying. Trust me.
yeah, he wouldn't give you the time of day. Ah, man,
Did you see his quote about House of the Meme Maker?
I didn't know. What'd he say?
He said, Like you pass beyond acceptance or disapproval to a place I know not where.
Man, I
And it's just
looked
like,
up.
okay, that's bad. That's not approval or disappointment. That's fine. We'll
Yep,
deal with that.
he is aware of us, and he will not tell us if that's good or bad. Which is that's all I can hope for from Joe. Yeah, I've only got two more points for the trouble with peace. Pike mentioned Masons at some point when he was running the cannon lines during the Battle of Staffenbeck. Now, that could very well have been a reference to all that masonry metaphors that Bayaz used in the Heroes. He is the architect, and they are the masons.
In the same way, and it kind of ties in with the metaphor of the weaver and the tanner as well. Like it's
Exactly.
kind of like an esque, and that fits in with the rule of three as well. You know, you've got the tanner, you got the weaver, and then you got the architect.
Those three trades, yeah. I mean, it could work. That's a small point. That's just something I more wanted to mention than anything else.
No,
And
but even that, like, there's
oh
so
yeah,
many little things that just could tie into this. It's brilliant.
oh yeah. And then here's the last point for the trouble with peace. Why was Yoru at the demonstration of the train? Ayaz would have more than likely had full access to the railway prototype without even needing to go to the demonstration. What was the purpose of having a representative present? Did he know about the assassination plot and send Yoru to keep Orso safe? Because I fully think that there's no doubt in my mind that Valentin Balk funded at least part of that project.
I mean, Valent and Box got their figures in many pies, haven't they?
In everything,
Yeah,
like
got to be all over the place, and not all of it is, you
yeah,
know, it's not like it can say, oh yeah, just make sure you avoid this person.
oh yeah, and like
And if somebody's going to go through and fund the breakers through like a shady source, they're just going to set up
yeah,
like a shell corporation, you know.
like even after the Great Change, they were running banks out of like Valen and Balk. They were still running banks out of small loan offices and in basements and whatnot during the Great Change. They have so many different ways of operating that we probably don't even know about most of them while they're still in operation.
Wow, are you saying that banks manipulate people?
I know it's a
That's. I think that's too political for this for
man,
this
I
podcast.
know it's a crazy thought, but maybe banks don't care about us. Man,
Shocking.
oh man, I'm sorry to shake your worldview. I'm so sorry. It got me too. But if
I mean, it's not surprising that Joe would continue on with that thought thread, though, would he? Like that has
oh yeah,
been a constant theme throughout all the books that money makes the world go round, and certain people, like buyers, control the money.
oh
And
yeah,
it's literally just buyers, as far as we know. There's probably
because
some competitor bank that buyers decided to not squash in the sake of looking competitive.
probably just bought them out, and that's good old Ballant and Volk. Yeah, man.
But
It's
it
it
is an overall theme, isn't it? So it would
yeah.
tie in again.
Money makes the world go round, like you said. I mean, how did Dagaska last as long as it did? Was it because of staunch leadership or devoted citizens and great fighters? No, it was because Valentin Balk gave Glockta $1 million. Gave him 1 million marks, and he used that money to get things running.
Man, he should have just. Imagine if Glockser had just like, moved to Westport or something.
And he really could have. He could have just cut and run
It,
at any point.
wow, the
He had
world would be a
so
better
much
place.
It, well, yeah, it probably would be. But back to the point at hand. Why was Yoru there? Like prototypes. This couldn't have been the first time it was operational. They had to have a proof of concept. They had to figure out how it would work. They had to make sure it would work. Otherwise, they'd just be dipshits on a field. So
Not to mention as well that it's not even Yoru in the crowd disguised as
Yeah,
somebody else. He's just there as himself,
Yoru,
which
he's
is
there as himself with
apparently
the
quite
king.
rare.
Yeah, he only shows up
And
when he's needed.
exactly, and I'm really, really glad that he gave uh, Gorse the day off. By the way, because
Yeah,
that would have been
or may-
awful.
shoot, maybe that's why he was there, just because Gorst had the day off.
Baez manipulated him into giving Gorse the day off.
Oh no, no, no! I mean, like he was only there because Gorst had the day off, so someone had to stand by the king. And
that
and the
that
only
could be a
man who
counterpoint.
the only man who could replace Gorst in this potential time of dire strait, fucking magical cannibal. That's the only
Magical
one
cannibal.
can keep up with him.
Yoru
You know,
Sulfur, the magical cannibal.
I we in the first draft of this we talked about Yoru and that he didn't use high art, but actually he did use fire art at one point during that demonstration. It's not important to the theory, but he does use some art of fire. So he kind of specialized the same with Baez on that.
Yoru always seemed like kind of Baez's
Oh yeah.
true devotee.
Oh
He
yeah, he is.
absolutely does whatever he says. Even he's been serving in the Magi for 300 years, but he still pours his fucking tea.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's full on sycophancy.
Uh, we are going to jump right into how autonomous Yoru is, trying to figure out whether he's directly following Ayaz's orders or,
I
kind
bet.
of free.
I mean, he can't be, can he? Because
No,
it's
yeah.
kind of established that Bayaz is still in the north,
Oh, yeah.
and it
He's
takes
way,
weeks and weeks and weeks to get a message up there.
definitely. And it's not like he would have any reliable messengers being able to do that. I mean, the whole trip there is going to be insane. The only way he would get the messages is if he went himself, and he's way too busy in the city to be getting direct orders. And it's not like they've established any kind of instant thought communication or teleportation or anything like that. It has to
I mean,
be,
Yoru
yeah.
does have this way of kind of disappearing, sort of like Batman. You turn around and he's not there anymore. But I just think that's because he's kind of
Oh yeah,
superhumanly fast for short periods of time, sort of the same way that Shanks is.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure he could just walk through an entire crowded room if he wanted to using that stuff. That would be cool.
But
But
there's no precedent for somebody covering huge swathes of land and then the sea as well in a
exactly.
short period of time, going up to buyers, going, "Oh shit, what do you want me to do?"
I mean, the closest thing to teleportation that we even see is Ishri when she's doing that weird, appearing out of nowhere, disappear kind of thing. But I'm fairly sure that's closer to the kind of illusion magic that Yolwei uses to go unnoticed. Just,
Yes, I think so too.
oh yeah, more like hiding in your blind spots than actually disappearing.
Create. I think our interpretation of Yowei's powers is that he has power over people's physical bodies and then their mental sort of perceptions as well.
Oh yeah,
So
he can.
if Ishri has that as well, so she can go, "Oh, I'm just going to make it look like I disappeared into this wall," she's actually gone.
Yeah, he definitely reads minds to some extent. As I think what it might be is he might be able to read the narration.
He can break the fourth wall.
Oh yeah, just little tiny things. But yeah, we see that Yoru makes a few very specific moves. We don't see him really do much, but he's definitely doing stuff behind the stage. Uh, he he threatened Savine and then spilled her secret that she, was like monster than anyone really thought. Uh, with to Celeste Huygen. And then that's a whole chain of events leads to Sveen getting denounced, put in the box, blah blah blah. Now, Yoru was probably planning for her to be tried and thrown off the tower chains at that point. What I'm gathering.
I mean, it's definitely sort of he approaches Savine and says, "Well, basically, if you don't work with us, then we're going to find somebody else, and we're going to reveal all of your secrets."
Oh, yeah.
And eventually, that is what happens. And again, this doesn't seem like the kind of thing that would be coming from Bayaz. Bayaz isn't the kind of person that plays into other people's plans on purpose.
Absolutely. I'm saying this feels like pure Yoru right there.
Mm.
And his much less circuitous way of going to go and eat her.
That is definitely not a Bayaz move. You don't just send your prime agent to go and eat the dude.
Like, absolutely. He's just thinking, oh man, my master will be displeased about this. So I am going to go.
Also, do you reckon he was going to go and eat those babies as well?
And I gotta think so. He tore his way through the whole house. I didn't think he was going to stop at Savine.
No, definitely not.
He was probably just trying to, like, oh, well, the fire is going. We need to control the burn and cut off the entire thing off. Clear the board, so to speak.
I mean, that would be a perfect point for, in Yoru's head, I'll get rid of these leaders, and then Bayaz will come back, and it'll be like, he's the savior.
No, that reminds me. I actually just read through this scene, and Yoru said, I told my master you couldn't be trusted. And then Glocta responded, well, something along the lines of, the people that you trust usually can't get the job done.
And Yoru says, it's funny, my master said the same thing. It's almost like they're on the same page there.
That does sound like a joke. That sounds like a Joeism, where it's like Bayaz is saying something to Yoru's face that he doesn't really understand, but it's more for the audience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I think the same thing about you, Yoru, because you can't be trusted because you're too. Well, it's never shown to be more. What's the word? Sort of emotional. He doesn't make decisions out of rashness or anything like that, but he does kind of try and be as logical as Bayaz is.
Absolutely. He definitely has his foibles, though. Yeah.
100%.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I think Yoro is almost certainly a sociopath just from the way he acts. He likes baring his teeth at people and threatening people.
He's a cannibal sorcerer. I mean, you don't do that and still keep your humanity. Even Shanks a bit crazy. But,
a bit, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but that almost seems like Yoru never trusted Glocta from the beginning. So it's I don't know. That might just be a grudge that he's had the entire time, regardless of whatever's going on behind the scenes. It might just be infighting between Yoru and Glocta. Who knows?
Or it might be Yoru trying to step out from underneath Bayaz's shadow at some point. Maybe he's sick of being Bayaz's servant.
Might be, yeah. Maybe he wants to be the one pulling the chain.
I mean, we are talking about a conspiracy theory here. Everything's on the table.
Everything on the table. So, with that on the table, let's think about this. What would have happened if Yoru did succeed and eat the Gloctas? Leave Leo as the sole Lord Regent of Adua, which honestly, I feel like that would fuck everything up within 5 years. He would spend everything on military strength. People would not get their bread, and for real, he would go to war with the North in the first place, trying to conquer the North, which not going to go well. You don't invade the North.
No, it's just like Russia, isn't it? You don't invade the North in the winter.
Oh yeah. You just don't do it. You just don't. Bad idea. They'll just destroy you. Then he'll probably try to go for Styria too because he's got a grudge against Jeppo. Then probably Dagaska because he's just gonna pick a fight everywhere and anywhere he can. He'll go for Stairclan and he'll lose all of it. And I'll give it 5 years before they have second great change because of his incompetence.
Exactly. That would definitely not be the kind of thing that Baez would want. Like Baez, as we've kind of talked about, is not probably not that invested in the union as he used to be. He's definitely more concerned
Oh
about
yeah,
what's going on in the north at this point. So for this to happen to the union isn't really what Baez would be going for.
yeah. Union to deal with Kalul, which is to say, I mean, without Kalul, he doesn't really need the union anymore. So I'm even still, he probably doesn't mind losing it all told. He very well might, start the fire just to see it burn. Ain't no telling.
Mhm. Mhm. And obviously, at this point, when Yoru invades the Glocta's mansion, he's not aware that
Hmm.
uh, what's the fact, Zuri and her brothers are just the eaters, part of the 100 words.
Rabic and Haroon, yeah.
Arabic and Haroon, yeah. He's not aware that these guys are
Yeah.
a part of the 100 words and they're eaters and they're a part of Glocta's plan. Because if he was, then he would just not go in there.
I was definitely thinking about that. So I don't think that now there's a couple ways. Now, assuming that Baez is the Weaver, is Glocta in on it too? Or is he just another pawn plan? Does Glocta even know that Baez is the Weaver, if this is the case? Because I
Mm.
definitely don't think that Zuri and her brothers know that
No, they're trying to work with Glocta to overthrow Bias.
yeah, not side with Baez. Like, so they don't believe that
Exactly.
they are. And I mean, shoot, it's the Inquisition. They're professional liars. That's what they do. They backstab, double cross, triple cross. Usually, they end up standing with the winners. And Baez kind of has the most experience with being a winner out of everyone.
Yeah, he absolutely does. At least from what we see in the story, anyway. I'm sure he's had plenty of L's.
Yeah, I mean, he's lost before, but he's learned from all those losses to make sure that he plays every game. The rules, halfway written so he can fill in the blanks to his favor as they go.
I mean, I think he even says to Giselle at one point, "What's the point of playing a game if you haven't got the deck stacked in your favor?"
Oh
Or
yeah,
something to that effect. I might be paraphrasing.
I love those little biasms. Here's another one. What good is a ladder if all the rungs are at the top?
Oh, that is
Yeah.
good. That is good. And this is coming from Bayaz as well, who, he probably started out as a peasant and was
Oh
picked
yeah.
by Juvens to be an apprentice. So, he knows the rules of social mobility, and he's the one that picks, like, Findry. And this is another interesting point that he picks Findry and Harrod to be the governors of Angland in the first place. So, if this whole theory is true, what are Bayaz's actual motivations for this then?
Well, I've got it broken down into three potential ones, which we'll just go down the list and go one at a time. I've ordered them from most likely to way out there, and
Okay.
that will be obvious as we get through. So, potential motive number one: greed. Baez can play the game longer than anyone else, finishing it against his opponent's descendants. King in waiting, just judging by the characterizations of the babies, you know, king in waiting will grow up to be meek and weak. Meanwhile, the royal sister will be strong-willed and a lot like Savine. likely she'll be a good target for Bayaz's intrigue whenever of age.
Mhm.
Orso never showed much interest in the crown and was detested by a large portion of the public, largely due to circumstances within Bayaz's control.
We've already talked about how if this theory is going to be sort of anyway true, then Orso's kind of nonchalantness and his wastrelness is sort of planned by Baez in the first place, or at least
Right.
planned by Glockton.
Because Bayaz never gave him the stern hand or anything. He kind of just let Orso do whatever he wanted. He came to him saying, "Oh, I wish I could find some better solution for this wetland situation." And Bayaz just goes, "All right, do it." Like,
That is true.
yeah, Bayaz doesn't, he controls shit, and he's letting Orso make his own decisions.
I mean, I think that's the whole. This is the lynch point for me, is that I never really believed that Baez would be so nonchalant and so laissez-faire about the union, even if he doesn't care about it that much. He can see and he knows. He's probably seen like 100 revolutions in his time, right?
Absolutely,
And
yeah. I'm sure he's caused
he
half
can
of them.
see this building up to a point. Exactly. So why would this be any different? And why would Baez be so laissez-faire about it?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, he was. There's no doubt in my mind that he had a full hand in, in the open council's rising against Moloch the Mad back in history. He backs
Sure.
all the horses and just rakes in the profits of whichever one wins. I'm sure he was supporting both Moloch the Mad and whatever his face was, who ended up taking over bloodline that would, lead up to Orso, quote unquote.
I
There's
mean,
precedence.
we
There's
even see
precedence.
we do even see that Baez has a hand in the second Northern War as well. Like
Yeah,
he has an idea of what's going on, and he just wants the battle to continue so that he can test his fucking cannons.
absolutely. They had a chance for peace on day 2, but nope. Let's blast them a little bit. I want to blast them. Let's do it. Blast them.
Yeah, I spent all this money on building cannons. I'm going to use them.
Hell, he even said to Calder, the whole battle at the Heroes was an argument over Ayaz's price with Stranger Come Knocking. It was just an argument over prices. The whole damn
It
thing.
is. It is.
He- He'll throw away literally thousands of lives. There were 1,000 Union casualties on the first day of battle. Just the first
Mm.
day.
And that's
Oh,
exactly the reason why I was very surprised when this sort of thing, the kind of theory that you're proposing, wasn't the whole twist for the ending.
exactly. Yeah. It's so in character for all of these books that Baez is behind every goddamn thing. You really think he's not behind this one too? You think we got one over on him? No. No. He got one over on you.
Exactly. He just walks in, blows everybody up, and goes, "Oh yeah, it was all my plan the whole time."
Yep. Yee, this is my whole deal. Why do you think he rebuilt the Tower of Chains even taller? He needed to make sure that we could push people off effectively. That was all his plan. You don't.
Especially
Oh
because the
man.
person who suggested it was somebody who ostensibly spent a lot of time in the far country,
Oh
where
yeah.
Baez is sort of meant to be around this time as well, or at
It's
least in
it's
the
also
last 20
worth
years.
it's also worth noting, just in general, that Spillian Swarbrick is Joe's write-in of himself. And
His self-insert character, yeah.
it's just because that's definitely Joe saying, "Hey, everyone, let's push people off the Tower of Chains because no one else would have that fucking idea."
I
Oh
could just
man.
imagine Bayaz sat in a chair somewhere going, "We need something big and showy, and we need someone and to people to take notice of it." And oh, I have an idea. Let's build the Tower of Change
It's
bigger and get people to push them off it.
not a Joe Abercrombie jaunt without a great fall. Like in every single book, there's a big fall. Someone falls. Like
Mhm.
Logan in the first book,
If
Logan in the second book, Logan in the third book. Uh,
Oh, he does do a lot of
uh,
falling. Yeah, that is true.
oh yeah. They fell into the caverns in the second book. He fell off of the wall of Carleon in the third. He fell twice
The
in the
only one
second
that I can
one
think
off
of
of.
is the Heroes and Red Country that they don't really fall.
Well, there were actually in Red Country there was one guy who got shoved off a cliff by Joubert. So that's a
Oh,
fall
that's
right
true.
there.
Yeah.
And also that pit going over the bridge where Denor and Logan fight. A couple of guys fall off that pit, so that's two there. Uh,
And you could say the pit that Baez nearly puts Calder into would technically be a fall,
oh yeah, or it's
if
more of
not
a
literally, then metaphorically.
yeah, if or more metaphor, yeah, like you say, metaphorical fall where you know Black Owl's sword falls into his skull.
Oh dear.
The fall of the
This all
North,
keeps this does all keep piling up the evidence, doesn't it?
absolutely. Then you got fucking Monza falling off that cliff. Then Grand Duke Orso falling off the cliff. Even in Sharp
I
Ends,
don't
there was
think
a guy
also
who
I don't think Grandoik also does. I think we literally just done this chapter, and I think she just stabs him, and that's it. But again, a
she did
metaphorical
like
fall.
in she did have his body thrown off the cliff though. That was something they mentioned
Okay.
in the last chapter. Like she didn't throw him off. She did just stab him and kill him. But he did end up over the wall. I think so, at least.
Hmm.
It's been a while since I've done that.
But you're right. You're right in that Baez is
Yeah,
involved in all of these events in some way, shape, or form, except maybe with the dragon
yeah.
people and all that. So,
And
for the
even
fact that
then,
Baez
yeah.
is trying to use this symbol of falling as sort of a way to get everybody's attention to be like, well, this is what's going to happen to you if you don't fucking do what I say.
I will say this: he doesn't have a hand in the dragon people, but he was, by extension, the one who hired Casca to go to the dragon people.
That is true. That is true.
Oh yeah, but yeah. Anyway, that's all just a bunch of stuff about falls. I've got an
Yeah, we
encyclopedia
could
of
talk about
knowledge.
that all day. Do
We
you want to
really
move on
could.
to the
Like,
next point?
yes, absolutely. Anyway, okay. So the second point of this motive, union reform will greatly open. Oh right, forgot to mention that part. Uh, could Baez have stacked the deck against Orso from the start so he could seize control from whoever the crowd thrust under the ground? It could have been that the entire time he was, like you say, when uh, him just letting Orso do whatever he wants. It might be he's already convinced that Orso is his image is so perfectly damaged, you don't need to worry about whether or not they're going to keep him. They're going to get rid of him. I mean, Ayaz / Yoru were directly behind the hanging of all those burners after Orso had promised them clemency. Direct undermining right there. And it could have been that Isher was a Bayaz asset and was the one who double crossed Orso with the whole Wetterland situation. But there is something that I do need to mention. Glocta outright said that Savine and Leo's rebellion almost fucked everything up. So their rebellion was not part of that plan. That was essentially all
No.
them, Isher, and Huygen. So
I
uh,
And again, I think that's interesting that the nobles' rebellion sort of goes against the whole Great Change.
Absolutely.
And if
Like
we're
they
thinking
were.
about Isha as a rogue, as one as Bayaz's agents, then that sort of doesn't make much sense. But at the same time, maybe it was a way
Be that
to
he's got.
weaken the crown before the Great Change.
Oh yeah.
Let's say if the Battle of Stoff, the Nobles' Rebellion never happened, Leo was all on side with Orso, and so was Isha and all of the other nobles, then the Great Change would not have been any kind of threat whatsoever.
Absolutely. It would have just been more peasant rabble.
Exactly like what happened with the Tanner.
Yeah. They wouldn't have been able to take the dang crown city. The only reason the Great Change was able to come through was because the king's forces were scattered and bloodied after the war. All the Anglanders were out. There's just a lot going on that had to go exactly the way it did. And it could very well have been that Isher is a Bayaz asset and pushed it to that result. Maybe,
But
I mean,
that's the thing
obviously,
as well, right? We know that Baez doesn't really think in terms of outcomes in that kind of sense. He thinks about
oh
possibilities,
yeah,
and he always has contingencies. Giselle was never his first choice. It was just
no.
the one he came up on the bridge and he saw, oh wow, look at that Jorah, that attitude. That's the guy that I need. Like, and that was
It's even
like what,
got
a
a
year
king's
or two
voice.
before he actually made him king. Exactly.
Oh, yeah,
So
it
for
just
Baez to be setting up all of these individual revolts and rebellions just so that he could have a tighter grasp on the Union in general, but that's
oh
not
yeah,
outside of the realm of belief, is it?
absolutely. And he could have already known, or so he was going to go down eventually. He's just kind of a wet shit to the great vast majority of people. Why not just get rid of him? Let the people put someone under the crown and just reapply the pressure after that happens. Give them the illusion of freedom. I don't know. Anyway, on to the next point on
No,
that. The
I think
union.
that's very interesting. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. The union reform will open great opportunity for investment. People still need money. All just gonna go get on right to it. Just get the business flowing. Don't care if the Lord and Lady Regent won't allow them to continue working. They're going to continue working. Just change their name,
Very
or
true.
they'll just move on to Stericland. I mean, hell, they already had a branch being built up in the fucking uh, what was the name of it?
I mean,
Crease. They
obviously they
have one
had
built.
a branch increase. Oh yeah, absolutely
Yeah,
increased, didn't they?
they're building one up
Even
there.
though Crease is now technically a part of the old empire.
Oh yeah, it just they're everywhere. There's no getting away from them.
It's true.
I'm
It's true.
sure
I
if they
mean,
had,
Baez might more than anything. I think Baez is sort of trying to consolidate his power over the whole circle of the world now, rather than just
absolutely,
focusing on the Union.
something interesting. There probably aren't any Valentin bulk branches in the north. The north is where he
No, they
lives.
don't understand money. They don't understand money
Oh
at
yeah,
all, do they? They just see shiny. They just see shiny stuff and say, "Oh, that's valuable."
absolutely. I mean, yeah, they've got it's so weird, yeah, because they don't have the same kind of market that you do in the on the south. But
Well, the way I see it is that the North, has been a war-based economy for as
oh,
long as it
forever,
has existed.
yeah, it's all about
Whereas
you
you've
know,
got the Union, which is a market capitalism economy, and then you've got Styria, which is a feudal economy, and then you have the Old Empire, which is an empirical economy, and then you have Gurkha, which is a slave-based economy.
yeah, yeah. In the north, you just
And
make
there's
money by
only
going to
one of
war.
those where banks don't work.
Yeah, and even then, he's got way more direct loans of soldiers. He'll
Exactly, which
directly
brings
loan
me on
you.
to your next point in your notes here,
Oh yeah,
which is in the Age of Madness in the Wisdom of Crowds, we find out that all of the Valiant and Bolt branches, all of their vaults are completely fucking empty and
Oh
dusty as
yeah,
well, which means that they've been sealed for a very, very long time while empty.
had to be at least decades. Like there was never any money in that vault. Now
But I
that
think
is to say, yeah,
that could be it could be a metaphor for how modern financial institutions are based on nothing but people's belief in it, fiat currency, and all of that,
oh yeah,
which we know
yeah,
that
for
Joe
sure.
is a big fan of writing about anyway.
Oh yeah. We also
Or
know that Valentin Bulk does have money because they delivered 1,000,000 marks to Glockta like in full. It's just
yep,
they're
no
not
problem at
keeping
all.
it there. Yeah.
Exactly. And then when Morvia goes to make a deposit in Westport, it's here's 50,000 marks. So like, yep, that's small potatoes to me. Let's just get it in.
Yep. Yep. That just they count it and they found out that he's 1 mark off or 1 scale off, and it's like, oh man, bet you'd better account for that. I saw you trying to get one over on me. What was his name? Not the
Malthus.
Malthus. Yeah, I knew it was something with an M. Man, that guy. I was so happy to see him die. Oh man, nothing like the death of a banker. Oh, mm, just
I see.
chef's
Oh, you
kiss.
should listen to the podcast because we have a big segment about how he's like just the victim in all of this.
Oh man, yeah, yeah, he's just doing his job. But man, I love to see him.
We
Anyway,
all love to see bankers die.
absolutely, it's just so fun. It's so great, and especially a death that leads to a massive panic, like massive hysteria and everything. Oh, it's just so great, just so fucking great. Anyway, uh, Ricka's final vision showed the North bound in a cage made of railways. Could the entire Age of Madness have been Bayaz laying the groundwork for his new chains? I mean, not sure
That
what
makes
I was
sense
thinking at that
because
point.
if
Yeah.
I think, well, if you don't, I certainly have read into it a little bit more than you have because
Oh yeah. Go for it. Yeah.
infrastructure is the way. Infrastructure is the way that people are controlled. You know that this is the thing when it comes to what did people say about Mussolini in like the 30s? It's like, oh yeah, he's a piece of shit and he kills people, but at least the trains are running on time.
Yeah. The trains ran on time. So yeah, it could very well be that he was just kind of essentially liquidating his union portfolio so he could invest his stocks into the northern market.
Exactly, and it's been very clearly stated in some of the chapters, and it's sort of a kind of a side note. I can't remember the name of the guy. I think it's Torlicorn or something like that. He approaches Savine and says, "You know, there's loads of copper and iron in the north in Angland, like just in the north. There's
Oh
loads of
yeah.
these untapped resources that we can exploit." And Savine kind of waves him off.
Yeah. There was also another guy who was suggesting that they dam the Krenna, or not the Krenna, the White Flow, and produce energy with
And
that.
turn
You
it
know,
into a
hydroelectric.
hydroelectric dam.
Yeah, wouldn't that be fucking crazy?
I love this. I love this world.
Oh yeah,
Exactly. I love the fact that we have steam engines before we have guns.
it's gonna be fucking steampunk with steampunk fantasy when it comes back for the next trilogy. It's just so good. Such a good
Oh,
writer.
I cannot wait for that.
But but yeah, I mean, even in the later books, when that garden party was going on with all the Northmen and the new Union royalty, Celeste was, just flirting with that with that hillman with the monocle, saying, "Oh, you have copper in your hills." And meanwhile, she is coppering up her hills like as much as she can. Never let it be said that I'm not a
That's a
wordsmith.
good metaphor. I love that. That's brilliant.
I swear, this the Hillman with the monocle. That's hilarious. Uh,
That is,
Oh,
I love the fact that we know that the Hillmen and the Northmen, in general, don't really give a shit that much about fighting. They're just like, oh come on, I'm tired of fighting. I just want to sit around my fire and have a good time.
I've had plenty
And
of fighting. Now
that
I
is
need to go
exactly
home and
what's
tend to the
being offered.
fields. Yeah.
Exactly,
Oh,
that's exactly what's being
yeah.
offered.
You
Prosperity.
you wanna pay us to take our stuff so we don't have to go kill people for money? Man, that's great. Oh,
It's like, how about you don't swing an axe at somebody else anymore? How about you swing a pickaxe for me, and I'll pay
yeah.
you?
And I mean, look at that. Whole great change ended up establishing massive amounts of relationships with the North and the Union. I mean, shit. That's kind of what Bayaz wanted the whole dang time.
And I'd like to say as well that this is a very good tie into sort of real world history where the Industrial Revolution originally happened here in the UK, in
Hmm.
England more specifically, and it spread to the entire world in less than 50 years.
Oh yeah, yeah. It just as soon as it starts going on, these good ideas they have to spread. Got to go throughout everything. And
And I
they
love
started
how it
those up.
starts in
Yeah,
Red Country as well, because it's like, how do you make needles in a machine?
train that makes needles. Odd.
Odd. A bit odd, isn't it?
It's a bit odd, isn't it? Getting a machine that can do the work of 19 men. Uh, so on to motive number two, boredom. So if he wasn't doing it for greed, he would probably just be doing it because he's so bored out of his goddamn mind because he doesn't have any enemies anymore, any real enemies. Kalul is either dead or so severely injured that he's completely off the board. Could Bayaz be downsizing because he no longer has to deal with Gurkle? Just, he's. It could very well be that he's just doesn't need the union, so he doesn't really need to keep as much of a grip on it. He can just let it go for a bit until
I
he needs
think
it
I think
again.
boredom may be a little bit more. I think boredom might be a little bit wrong. I think it's more that he needs to reorient his
Oh yeah.
priorities because now he's fighting people. He's fighting his Cornel and Zacharias in the west.
And even then, that
So
seems like
he needs to reorient.
oh yeah. But even then, he doesn't have any really good enemies anymore because he dealt with Cornel and Zacharias
Or
in
so he
the span of
says.
a book. Oh yeah, yeah.
So
I
he
mean, he came
says.
back alive, so I'm figuring he
But
he probably
Baez is
figured
never on
something
the
out.
front
Yeah.
lines. He could be well losing that conflict, and we'd never know
Oh
about it
yeah.
until he loses.
Yeah. Don't even know what kind of trouble they're stirring up over there. Like, there's no fucking clue what they're doing out there. Yeah, yeah. But in almost every appearance in the Union in Age of Madness, Baez was distant and uninterested. He really only showed any passion when he was in the North. Talking to Ricka, talking to Calder.
Hmm.
And he didn't give a shit down in the
Absolutely.
down
I
in the
mean,
Union.
he doesn't give a shit. He was there in the Union when
Yeah,
everyone was like, "Oh shit, yeah." This was after Valbeck as well,
yeah,
when
yeah.
the biggest uprising that had ever happened in the Union, and he's just
And he's
like
just.
dancing around, doing all the having hors d'oeuvres and chatting with people, and it's just like, Baez, what are you doing?
I mean, in the first chapter of book two, while the first closed council meeting is going on with Orso as the king, Diaz is just looking out the window at the birds the entire dang time. And this is after his chosen monarch, died, which should also be noted how he was smiling when he was announcing to Orso that his father was dead. I mean, I've always been on the
I
Galacta
mean,
killed. Like, I always
I've
thought
always
that
been on the
Galacta
clock
was
that
the one.
killed Jezal as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
Or I
But,
actually
but
I enjoy the theory that Jezal was in on it as well, and he killed himself.
exactly, yeah. Because the way Galacta spoke said made me believe that Giselle was in on whatever Glock was doing in the first place. He would have to die for it to go through. But there's a bunch of people who thought that Bayaz was the one that killed Giselle. I've seen that theory on Reddit a bunch of times too, but that never tracked with me unless you assume that Bayaz is the Weaver, because that would only benefit the Great Change by taking this well-respected, ineffectual king off the board. People like Giselle,
and then putting in his
It'd be
wastrel
fun.
son.
Yeah,
Exactly. The people love Giselle, don't they?
Yeah, you know what they don't love?
Even if, like you say,
Styrians.
wastrels.
Yeah, wastrels and Styrians. Yeah, I mean, shit. Yeah, he would have made a great king if he didn't fuck his relationship as much as he had fucked everyone else. Just really,
That's very true.
Basically a natural born king. He died
And
a king.
I always do. Exactly. He fulfilled his role perfectly, and we will be talking about also in the podcast as well at some point. But also, the only person that dissuaded him from being the kind of piece of shit wastrel that he was his mother,
Yeah,
who was Styrian.
Tyrion mother was the only
That's
one.
so ironic.
Oh, don't you just love it? And I mean, I just love the whole family dynamic. Therese is a gem, and she deserves so much better.
Absolutely, I think Therese is one of my favorite characters in the First Law. She's just so.
Oh.
She is a complete bitch to everyone around her, but that's the way she's been raised. You know, it's all political
Absolutely.
and everything like that. And obviously, the way she is, she's being a lesbian. It's not necessarily acceptable for that kind of
oh yeah, for sure.
political standpoint where you've got to produce children and all that. So, but she does her job well. She stands there in front of the people and smiles and waves.
Oh yeah, she had three kids. She did her wifely duties and then never did them again. 3 kids and she was good to go. Thing that I really loved was that she finally got to see Shalir again in Trouble with Peace. I really loved that she got that happy ending. I'm like genuinely.
Me too.
Oh,
Me too. I
so
think
few
it's so
people get
cathartic
that.
for Therese.
Oh yeah, so few people get that. She deserved it, especially after having Lord Justice Bruckle or High Justice Bruckle's brains splattered all over her. That was a hell of a day.
That was a hell of a day.
Oh man!
So,
oh man!
I'm looking. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, nothing. Just laughing at the fucked up moment when she was trying to put his head back together. It's like this isn't right.
Yeah, I love the bit where she's like, she hears the large bang, and then she says, "Lord Justice Bruckle, how dare you lean your head on my shoulder?" Oh wait,
Nerve. But anyway,
exactly.
go on. Yeah, nerve of him.
So I'm just looking at your notes here again, and we're coming to the third potential motive for Bayaz, which is opening the gate to the other side, which is something that I'm a huge fan of.
Absolutely.
Because I'm one of those people that thinks that the heroes is the gate to the other side.
Very well might be, because I mean, Bayaz said it himself. They were ancient even when his master was born. And
yes,
it's just he's okay. So I'm just going to read it straight through, so we can so I can figure out what words I need to put things into. So Bayaz is learned in high art and grand wisdom, having spent hundreds of years studying magic. Rika's vision showed presumably Au's return from hell, which I believe is a result of Bayaz tampering with the seed. If anyone would be aware of the greater impact, it would be Bayaz. Could the Great Change have been some kind of ritual to strain the gate? That's to say, I mean, Glustrad, he gained power by killing fuckloads of people and eating them. It could very well be that you don't have to eat the people, you can just I don't know. It's magic. Like
sacrifice.
It's talking about yeah. could just be that if you kill all these people, and to go back to that point before where I was talking about throwing people, where Baez built the tower chains even taller so he could throw people off of it better. It could be that, a lot of people have to fall off a high place to really get the blood into the ground. I mean, we're playing Calvin ball here. There's really no telling. You can interpret it in as many ways as possible. It's a theoretical ritual that may or may not be happening. So,
But I really think
yeah.
that's interesting because I always thought it
Oh,
was
yeah.
interesting that the Union doesn't have any kind of state or culture or religion. The
Oh, yeah.
Styria
Yeah.
doesn't either. The North
Yeah.
kind of has the dead and the Great Leveler as that sort of
But
pseudo
even then, that's
spiritual.
more. Yeah, that's more spiritual than religious. Yeah. It's only the South where
And
and
it is
Spawn where
interesting
they.
that the only main adversary to Bayaz is somebody that is like, yeah, no, there is a god, even if it is a controlling aspect for them. So maybe there are some kind of gods, and maybe this god is Eus or
Yeah, that's
Glastrod.
something I always thought. I always wondered. Like in the South, is God supposedly Eus,
It's never
or is he?
specifically mentioned as such.
'Cause I've always conflated the two because Eus is the closest thing to God that's been on Earth, since the time of the devils. I don't know.
Sure, but there are plenty of people on Earth today that believe in God, but don't believe in, say, Jesus or Hare Krishna or
Yeah,
whoever.
they're all.
You know.
Yeah, there's tons of different variations on religion, and essentially they all end up believing in the same God, but just different ways of expressing it. And
Mhm.
it's it could be a whole thing. And if Ayus is the one that was seen in that vision, then all hell's going to break loose pretty soon. And Baez, here's something that I feel like needs to be addressed. Where the hell did the divider go after the you know after Yoru used it to cut up the twins?
Yeah, I feel like that could have been a big game changer, especially at Stauffenberg.
Yeah, because that right there, it has one edge on this side and one on the other side. And the
Which
seed, we don't know what.
to me means that they would be able to, the divider is capable of killing entities that would
Yeah,
not otherwise be able to be capable of being killed, like the eaters.
yeah, it really just cuts through them like butter. And then you got the seed. We didn't get any mention of that since the end of before the or last argument of Kings. And I mean, hell, there's just all those MacGuffins from the first book. They just don't come back.
Exactly, and the only person that knows how to use them is Bias,
Yeah,
as far
and
as we know.
and that is. I mean, shit. It could be he's used those things to open the dang gate and start
I mean,
things
I
up from
don't think it's
hell.
any coincidence. I don't think it's any coincidence that we have Ricker's vision showing that Baez is going to take over the north, and then we also have the return of Aegis, Glastrod, whoever, in the same paragraph, who, in my
Absolutely.
opinion, is also going to come from the north as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. The shale on the like the description of the sea made it look like it was all going to be a northern sea. So yeah, it wasn't like a sandy beach. It was shingle, so like a rock beach or something like that.
Yeah. Which, if you live in the
Oh,
UK, you're very used to.
oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah,
But I also think this would be the sort of the climax to Baez's hubris, that he tries to
oh
bring
yeah,
back Aeus on his side, and Aeus just fucks everything up for it.
absolutely. Like he definitely fucked up magically by using the seed. He literally replicated the magic that got Glustrod killed and
And was
succeeded in
even
doing
trying to
so.
get, or even that Archlector Salt was trying to do at the same time.
Oh yeah, that magic that Salt was doing was just lame horse shit compared to what Bayaz
You
had
say
going
that,
on.
you say that, but Bayaz was concerned enough to send Glock to go and spy on him.
Galacto went on his own.
No. Bayaz, through Malthus, was told to go
Oh
and spy
well,
on Salt because of
yeah,
the
that's
things
true.
that
He
he was
was
doing
told
at
to.
the university.
Yeah, he was trying to. That is true. Yeah, he was concerned enough to keep an eye on it, but he sent a cripple.
We sent the person that he would give 1,000,000 marks to defend the city.
True. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it was weak magic compared to what Bayaz is capable of. I think we could say, because it didn't
Absolutely.
amount to anything. Yeah. Well, they did explode one guy. They did explode Marovia, so they got that going for them. Anyway, the last
They were
point I
just
have
getting
here.
started, though. Anyway, go
Oh
ahead.
yeah, the last point I have here. Baez has even more spies than Calder. Could he have been backing Rika the whole time to bring her vision of ruling the North to fruition? And yeah, I'm not entirely sure on this
I
one,
don't
truth be
see why
told.
not. I
Yeah.
don't see why
It,
not, considering that we've had these characters change sides multiple times as well.
oh yeah. It could be that we've got tons of the different ones. It could be that Hardbread's working for Baez the whole time. I wouldn't put it past him. I don't think it's true, but I wouldn't put it past him.
I wouldn't even
Uh,
put it past Shivers.
yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah, it's Shivers. Give him enough money, he might. I mean, that's the thing about it. Anyone can. You know what? We know that Shivers is going to get killed by Shitlip. We know that much
Mhm.
because he's got the sword and everything. That's going to be very interesting. Oh man,
And I definitely
I
cannot wait for that. And all of this is just speculation for all the listeners.
yeah,
We have no idea what's going to go on, but all of these theories are
yeah.
very interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. These are all just interpretations of what we've seen, and I mean, hell, it's just it all adds up to me. Truth be told, that's all I can say about it. It makes sense to me.
It makes sense to me as well. I think this is an
Oh yeah,
absolutely fantastic theory. I haven't heard anybody else talking about this, and I think it's a perfect encapsulation of I think what Joe was going for with this kind of thing. And I can't speak for him. I've never met the guy. He signed a book for me once for like 10 seconds, but that was it.
oh man, that's way more than I got. That'd be cool. You know,
Man, I didn't even know at the time. It was literally the second book that I bought, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, I'll get him to sign it, whatever." I didn't understand the implications.
you know, I kind of want to go to one of his signings and bring a fucking Wheel of Time book for him to sign. Oh man, I got the whole.
just bring Game of Thrones. Just like
You're George R.
and
R.
take a
Martin, aren't
picture of
you?
his face when he sees it. Yeah.
Hey, you're John Abercrombie, ain't you?
John, we call him Joel Abercrombie.
Joel Abercrombie. Yeah, and Stevie Pacer.
Stevie Pacey, yeah, that's the one. Oh my lord. Is
Oh
there anything
man.
else that you want to bring up here in the last bit?
Uh, honestly, I think that covers it. Yeah. Uh, I would like to give
Okay,
just a
so
quick
I'll
plug.
go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick plug. I've recently, in my previous guest spot, we mentioned that I wrote a book and that it was available online. But I have recently published or posted that book on Royal Road. So if you want to give that a read for free without paying money and just going there to look at it, check out royalroad.com and look up Crossroads Awakening. Or you can go look me up, TZ Witherite, to find it. It's all free, which is the way I wish I had done it in the first place. So go check it out. Don't like it? Well, fuck you.
I've
You
given
do
it a
like
little
it?
read.
Oh yeah.
I have been spoiled by audio at this point, and
Oh
I
yeah,
think
for sure.
Bloody Nine B9er is
Oh yeah.
thinking about doing an audio book for you,
Oh man, that'd
and
be
I would
sick.
appreciate that.
Oh yeah, for sure. He read it all the way through, and honestly, like that was crazy for me to have someone read it and like it and whatnot. He said I took too much use of using laughter to break the tension, which is complete. But first book syndrome. So the second book has been going a lot better.
Exactly, and you know what? You're the only person that we've ever had on the show that has ever written a book. So who am I to talk about it? You know.
Oh yeah.
So everybody, go and read Trey's book here. Go and look it up on Royal Road, Crossroads Awakening, or TZ Witherite.
Yep. All right.
So thank you for listening to another one of our Circle of the World theory videos. I hope it hasn't been too long. I hope you've made it this far. And I'd just like to thank my guest star.
Yep, that's me, Trey. Yep. Thanks for watching.
Thank you very much for watching.